Hello, welcome to the audiobook of my Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds fanfic Crimson Star Priestess. If you are enjoying this series, make sure to leave a like, comment and subscribe to my channel for updates. The link to the fanfic and my Discord server are in the description below. I do not own any Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds characters, I only own my OCs. The last thing I remembered was I managed to catch Goodwin before we were swallowed by a bright light. When I noticed how quiet it was around me, I opened my eyes to see I was in the realm between the spirit world and the 5Ds world. I was dressed in the pure white dress that I always wore whenever I was in this realm. I noticed someone was standing in front of me and Goodwin as we lied on the ground. I got up on my knees and looked up to get a big surprise. Roman? I blinked confusedly. Roman looked like what he used to be before he became a dark signer. He smiled softly at me before he turned his eyes on his brother. I turned to Goodwin and saw he was back to his normal self and all dressed. I shook him gently to wake him up. Goodwin, wake up! Goodwin let out a soft grunt as he slowly opened his eyes. He blinked a couple of times before he looked up. Man? Roman smiled lightly. Rex. I helped Goodwin stand up on his feet, supporting him by holding his right arm. Are you okay, Goodwin? Yes, Goodwin replied while his eyes were locked on his brother. It's been a while, little brother, Roman chuckled softly. Yes, big brother, Goodwin nodded before he looked down with a guilty expression. Listen, There's no need to apologize, Roman shook his head. I know why you did those actions. I forgive you. You do? Goodwin mumbled in slight disbelief as he looked up with a surprised expression. Roman nodded slowly with a sad smile. But whether you were able to become a god or not, your power could have never brought me back alive. Goodwin looked away, trying to hide the shame exposed on his usually stoic face. I softly rubbed his back to give him some kind of comfort. Brother, Goodwin mumbled in a light and sad tone. It was hard to accept your death and how you betrayed me and Ikto, but I understand now why you caused Zero Reverse. You had no choice. I was too weak to control the darkness, even though I had the mark of the Crimson Dragon, Roman said. Uru forced me to try destroying the future by releasing the Earthbound Immortals. I am pleased to see how the signers were able to overcome their own darkness and protect the world with you, Estelle. I blushed modestly. I'm glad I was able to help them, not just as a priestess, but as a human being. Oh? What makes you say you were? Roman raised an eyebrow. I blinked confusedly by his reaction. Isn't my duty in your world over now? I mean, the Earthbound Immortals are sealed again. If your duty was indeed over, you wouldn't be here with us, Roman shook his head. Goodwin let out a soft chuckle. And I don't think the Crimson Dragon would send you back without letting you say goodbye to your friends. Roman looked to his right, so I turned around to see what he was looking at. It was the lifeless bodies of Kalin, Misty, Carly, Divak and Greiger floating in the cosmos, still in their dark signer's attire. Unlike them, who gets a third chance to live again, I cannot return to the mortal world, the older Goodwin brother explained. Take good care of them, Rex, Estelle. The darkness the Earthbound Immortals used to possess them was quite powerful. I'm afraid they might get affected by the aftermath. That grabbed my attention as I quickly connected the dots. Like flashbacks of the shadow duels? Yes, and possibly something more, but I don't know what. Roman shook his head. Therefore, Estelle, Rex, look after them and tell designers to do that too. We will, Goodwin nodded, and I promise I will protect our word in my own way, and one day I hope to see you again, Roman. We certainly will, Rex, Roman smiled. Now, I believe someone is waiting for me. A bright light shone behind him before a male figure walked toward us. It stopped next to Roman, and once the light was gone, I realized who it was. Yusei's father? Yusei's father, who I suspected was Ikto because Goodwin mentioned him earlier, smiled softly. He had the exact same smile as his son, that they could literally be twins, except there were a few differences. Ikto didn't have the yellow streaks in the hair, and his eyes weren't royal blue as Yusei's. Also, his bangs were longer on the right side that they covered his eye. He looked like he hadn't aged since the Zero Reverse, just like Roman. It's an honor to meet you in person, Estelle, Ikto said. I blinked confusedly. How do you know my name, sir? I don't think I ever introduced myself when you saved me and Yusei from those lost spirits. I've heard about you from Roman once he was freed from the Earthbound Immortal, Ikto explained. But I've actually known you long before that. Pardon? Ikto closed his visible eye before his body released a bright light. I had to shield my eyes for a moment until the light died down and revealed Junk Warrior standing in Ikto's place. My brain froze in a second before I figured it out, and that was a shocker. You were reborn as Junk Warrior?
Yes, I was reborn as Junk Warrior when the meltdown took my life.
Junk Warrior spoke in a deep voice.
I have always been by Yusei's side ever since he received the card of Junk Warrior from Martha on his 4th birthday. I got to watch him growing up and see what a good young man he has become.
Some humans get blessed by the dual monsters gods on their deathbeds and give their spirits a second chance to live in the spirit world, Roman explained. But since I was reborn as a dark signer, my spirit will forever be in human form. The same bright light that brought Ikto to us reappeared behind him and Junk Warrior. Ikto and I will guide the lost spirits to where they belong. Do not disappoint us. And Rex, keep my arm as the last memento. With that said, Goodwin and I watched how Roman and Junk Warrior turned around and walked towards the light. Once they stepped into the light, it expanded and engulfed everything around us. Yusei and the others were watching the now collapsed stairway to the Dragon Star. It had literally buried the lake where Goodwin's island once rested. Heavy clouds of dust floated around the broken structure, making it impossible to see the huge pile of boulders and debris. There were no signs of the King of the Netherworld, since he had been destroyed by Miracle Star Dragon that was still flying in the sky far above the group. The dragon had used a bit of its power to heal Jack and Crow after the attacks they took during the final shadow duel. No one said a word, but they were worried if Estelle had been buried underneath the rubble along with Goodwin. It was Crow who first noticed something in the clouds of dust. "Hey guys, something's coming!" The dust cleared up and revealed Estelle walking towards the group while supporting Goodwin, who was awake but weak. Her priestess attire was a little bit torn and dirty, and she had no visible wounds. Goodwin's body had returned to its original form and dressed in his grey suit. His left hand had no glove on, so it was revealed it was a normal human hand instead of a mechanical hand. Roman's left arm had been the very last gift given to Goodwin, and he was going to cherish it. "It's Estelle and Goodwin!" Luna exclaimed. "They're both alive!" Leo cheered joyfully. The group of signers and non-signers rushed toward the incoming duo, everyone feeling relieved that there hadn't been any casualties. Estelle smiled softly at the sight of her friends rushing to her and Goodwin's aid. "Are you okay?" Aki asked as the group reached the duo. "Yes," Estelle nodded. "Just a few bruises, but nothing else." Trudge removed Goodwin from Estelle's shoulders so she could relax her tense body and supported the former Dark Signer by putting Goodwin's left arm around his shoulders and holding onto his body with his right arm. "Director, are you okay?" "Yes, thank you, Trudge," Goodwin nodded. Trudge felt a chill run down his spine after the answer. It wasn't every day Goodwin actually said thank you to someone. Mina also noticed there was something different with the director of Sector Security. Estelle massaged her shoulders one by one while the others asked her questions that she had a hard time following since they were all talking. "One question at a time, please. I can't answer them if you all talk at the same time," she told them with a slight tired expression. "Sorry," Leo grinned sheepishly. "We're just happy you and Goodwin are safe," Crow grinned. "We seriously thought you two were goners." Jack glanced up at the sky, frowning at the sight of Miracle Star Dragon. "What's your dragon still doing up there?" Estelle and the others turned their eyes up and saw said duel monster slowly descending to them. The priestess and Miracle Star Dragon looked at each other in the eye as they felt a connection between them. "Estelle?" Yusei spoke up. The young woman ignored him as she took a few steps forward, her eyes never leaving Miracle Star Dragon's. The others watched her silently as they wondered what was going on. Estelle could sense the presence of the Crimson Dragon, and she knew he was waiting for her to unleash her power so the god could restore the remaining damage that his Dark Signers had caused in both New Domino City and Satellite. She stretched out her arms as a crimson aura enveloped her, and a large crimson magic circle appeared beneath her feet with a pentagon in the middle. The signers' marks started glowing at the same time, and they could sense a bit of their power being transferred to the priestess, whose mark was also glowing on her arm. Estelle aimed her open hands at the destroyed structure of the stairway to the Dragon Star. A bright crimson light erupted from the palms that was fired at Miracle Star Dragon, enveloping him in the same aura that slowly shape-shifted him into the Crimson Dragon. The Dragon God flew up to the sky with a roar before he released a light of crimson and golden that spread across the sky of the city. Everyone watched as the pile of debris of the stairway dissolved into pixie dust as Goodwin's island was restored. The Crimson Dragon screeched before he disappeared among the clouds, waiting for the next summoning. The crimson and golden light disappeared along with him, but the damage in the city and Satellite had been fully restored. Even the damage on the Satellite Trio's Duel Runners had been repaired by the power, and the light had also given Goodwin enough strength to stand and walk on his own. Estelle lowered her arms once the energy in the air vanished along with the crimson aura and the magic circle. She wobbled on her feet before she collapsed on the ground in front of the signers and the non-signers. Yusei and Jack got down on their knees next to the fallen brunette as her clothes glowed in crimson before they switched back into her old outfit, minus her glasses and the dual disc. "Is she okay?" Leo asked worriedly. Jack checked Estelle's pulse on her right wrist. "She's all right, she just fainted." Yusei wrapped his arms around the brunette before picking her up in Bridor style. Her head leaned against his chest, which caused him to smile. Jack and Crow raised an eyebrow when they noticed their foster brother's expression. They have never seen him smile to a girl like that before. "I'm not surprised," Goodwin spoke up. "She did use a lot of energy in the shadow duel, so her body must be exhausted. In fact, I'm sure you all are tired, so you may rest in my mansion tonight." "Is that really okay, Director?" Mina questioned. "Yes," Goodwin nodded. "I now wish to make amends for the mistakes I've done in my past, so let me begin with it by offering you a roof over your heads tonight. And tomorrow, the construction of the Daedalus Bridge shall begin." Yusei, Jack and Crow snapped their heads up when they heard the news. Their feelings were suddenly out of the place until they settled down with joy and relief inside their hearts. Their dream to unite Satellite with the new Domino City was soon going to become a reality. The group walked towards Goodwin's mansion as Trudge rolled Yusei's door on her, since the signer had his hands full. Jack and Crow had driven ahead and waited for the others by the mansion. It took the group about 5 minutes to reach the mansion when they came across another surprise. The bodies of Misty, Kalin, Carly, Greiger, and Divak were lying on the ground at the front of the entrance, all 5 of them wearing the same outfit they had before they became Dark Signers. Jack and Crow had squatted down and checked if they were okay. Crow's attention was on Greiger, while Jack checked Carly. The blonde signer picked up Carly's broken glasses from the pocket of his jacket and placed them on the young woman's face. "Is that Divak and the others?" Leo gaped in disbelief. "So the Crimson Dragon sent them to my residence," Goodwin mumbled. Yusei was desperate to check Kalin, but he didn't want to drop Estelle as she was still unconscious in his arms. "Do you have enough rooms for them too, Goodwin?" "Yes, and I've got bedrooms with 2 and more beds, so you can share a room if you like to." Everyone helped each other to bring the unconscious bodies inside the mansion before the twins closed the double doors with a soft creak. I had no idea for how long I had been unconscious, but the sun was shining through the windows when I woke up. It took me a few moments to recognize the room where I was staying. It was the same room I slept in when I had been under house arrest in Goodwin's mansion. I picked up the alarm clock that rested on a nightstand next to my bed and brought it close enough to my face to see the time. It was minutes over 8 a.m. in the morning. I put back the alarm clock at the nightstand and looked down next to the bed to see the shape of my sideshawl that I had left back in Martha's house the day before the shadow duels. Did the Crimson Dragon bring it to me while I had been sleeping? A knock on the door made me snap out of my thoughts. "Come in." A blurry figure stepped into the room and walked over to me. I saw the figure had a female body and it was dressed in a black and white dress, so I concluded it was one of Goodwin's mates. "Good morning, Miss Estelle," Hilda's voice greeted. "Good morning," I nodded. "Master Goodwin and your friends are in the dining room. Would you like to join them, or do you feel too weak to move?" Hilda questioned. "I can bring your breakfast to your room." "Thank you, but I think I can walk," I replied as I got out of the bed. "I'm glad you're feeling well, Miss Estelle," Hilda said in a warm voice. "Let me help you change your clothes before we head down." I changed my old outfit to the same clothes I wore on the day when Jack came over and dueled me during the house arrest. Hilda was nice and let me hold onto her arm as she escorted me down to the dining room. She opened the twin doors before leading me inside. I saw the blurry figures of my friend seated around the table and heard how some of them seemed to gobble the food down their throat. I had a feeling it was mainly Crow and Leo's doing. "Good morning, Estelle," Luna's voice called. "Good morning, everyone," I greeted in return as Hilda helped me over to a chair. "How are you feeling, Estelle? Better?" Yusei asked as I noticed he sat on my left. "Yeah, I'm feeling refreshed after a good night's rest," I smiled before Hilda served me a plate with toast and butter and strawberry jam, bacon, egg, fresh fruit, and a cup of hot tea. "We got worried when you fainted in front of us," Mina spoke up from the other side of the table. "I thought you were hurt somewhere." "I'm sorry I scared you guys," I replied softly as I picked up the toast. My brain shut down after I used so much mental energy. What did I miss while I was unconscious? Kalin and the other dark signers appeared out of nowhere in front of Goodwin's mansion, Crow explained. "They're alive and back to normal, but they were out of it, so he brought them to the bedrooms where they are still sleeping." I let out a soft sigh in relief. At least they returned to a safe place in the mortal world instead of reappearing where they passed away last time. I chose the words carefully to not upset my friends. I guess they got a bit affected by the thoughts of Kalin and the others dying once because they all grew silent for a second. However, they got over it as the cutlery started clashing against the plates again. The breakfast continued silently, but sometimes Luna would scold Leo for messing around while eating. Goodwin broke the silence after the meal and the maids quickly removed the dishes from the table. "I have some news to share with you, children," the adult spoke up. "I've been informed the Daedalus Bridge is now under construction and, according to the architects, it will be finished in less than 2 months. It was around the end of July, so the bridge might get done in September." "That fast?" I couldn't help but say that in slight surprise. "Yes, that fast," Goodwin chuckled. "The new bridge will be connected to satellite by the old Daedalus Bridge, but the old bridge will remain there as a symbol for the freedom the people of Satellite has been craving for since Zero Reverse." "Oh shoot! That's the area where my kids and I live!" Crow suddenly panicked. "I've gotta head back there and see if they're back and find a new place for us." "Don't worry, Crow. I've already arranged a helipad that will bring you, Jack, and Yusei to Satellite this afternoon," Goodwin replied calmly. "I'll make sure the boys get to their destination safely," Trudge spoke up. "Well, you certainly got a change of tone about Satellite, officer," Jack commented sarcastically. "Well, Trudge hesitated as I had a feeling he was a bit embarrassed. "I just don't want Martha to worry about your tree." The rest of us couldn't help but laugh at the officer. I hid my lips as I giggled softly, joining the laughing squad. "Excuse me, Master Goodwin," a maid spoke up from the twin door. "The other guests have woken up and they're very confused." "They're awake?" Yusei said as he stood up from his seat. "Wait, Yusei," Goodwin called quickly before the signer could leave. "There's something important Estelle and I need to tell you first." Yusei and the others looked confused, but the raven-haired boy sat down on his chair to hear me and Goodwin out. "Last night, in that bright light after the shadow duel, Estelle and I encountered my brother," Goodwin began. "You saw Roman?" Aki mumbled confusedly. He warned us that the power of the Earthbound Immortals was so powerful it might have left some kind of infection on the former Darksigners, Goodwin added. What kind of infection? Leo wondered. They might get flashbacks of the Shadow Duels and events they went through as Darksigners, I said as I nervously held my hands on my lap. They might remember that they almost killed you. The darkness could end up corrupting them, so they might fall into depression by the memories and feel lots of guilt. That's why, if they should ever remember their darkest past, it's necessary that you signers are there by their side to help them, Goodwin continued as I had lost my voice to do the explanation. Don't let them fall into depression. Help them move on to the bright future. We will, Yusei nodded before he stood up once again and left the dining room to check on Callan. In a short summary, the former Darksigners had no memories of the time they were corrupted by the Earthbound Immortals, so they were very confused and wondered how they ended up in Goodwin's mansion. Divak was pretty much just confused and left the mansion with a taxi after he ate some breakfast. He never went into any details of what happened before he passed away. Carly panicked when she heard how many days had passed since her death. She was certain that she had lost her job at that newspaper she worked at, but I managed to convince Yusei to let her interview him. After all, he did promise he would let her interview him after the Shadow Duel we had with the Shadow Drone shortly after the Fortune Cup. Carly asked him only Fortune Cup related questions, and afterwards she thanked him as she said the interview would save her skin. Aki returned the locket Misty had dropped after the last Shadow Duel and apologized for what happened to Toby. Misty knew the female signer wasn't the culprit, as she confessed she remembered bits of her Darksigner past and knew Sayer had been the murderer of her little brother, so there were no longer hard feelings between her and Aki. Greiger remembered he was supposed to be escorted to the facility after failing to assassinate Goodwin, only to be saved by Divak, who brought him to Roman. After that, he didn't remember a single thing. He did try attacking Goodwin for destroying his village, but the director showed him live video proof that the village was back and the villagers as well, including his siblings. That made him calm down and cry in relief, happy that Max and Annie were safe. Kalin was a bit disoriented because he had died in the facility, but Yusei, Jack and Crow calmed him down and said everything was now in the past and they would go home to Satellite together before explaining things in details. Misty's private limousine showed up by the mansion to pick her up, and she even offered Carly a ride to her place. The reporter was grateful and took upon the offer. Greiger took a taxi to the airport so he could fly home to Nazca and reunite with his small family. My friends, Goodwin and I watched how a helipad landed several meters from the mansion, as it had come to bring the former enforcers back to Satellite. The Satellite trio loaded the Drew Runners in the cargo hold before they walked back to us for a final goodbye. Trudge escorted Kalin to the helipad so we could have a private moment. So, does this mean we won't see you guys until September? Leo questioned with tears in his eyes. I'm afraid so, Leo, Yusei replied. But hey, it's just 2 months away. It's better than half a year, Crow grinned, trying to brighten the mood up. Yeah, but still, I'll miss you. Leo bit his lower lip to not let out his sobs. Me too, Luna nodded slowly as she clenched her hand into a fist above her heart. Jack, Mina spoke up. If you'd like, I could send some of your belongings from your penthouse to Marta's place. Thank you, Mina, Jack nodded in a nonchalant voice. It's been only a short time, but you all became such important friends to me, Aki confessed with a sad smile. Take care, okay? We will, and take care of your parents, Aki, Yusei told her. Aki smiled softly as her cheeks grew a bit pink. I will. Yusei turned to me, but I couldn't tell what kind of emotion his eyes reflected. Will you be coming with us, Estelle? I began, not knowing if I should go with the boys or not. She will be staying in my residence, Goodwin spoke up. You're not gonna hold her hostage, are you? Leo asked the director in a stern voice. No, Leo, but there are a few things I have to arrange for Estelle, Goodwin replied. I cast a curious glance at the director, wondering what he meant by that. Can we visit her sometimes? Luna asked. Yes, you may, Goodwin replied. My home will forever have its doors open for your signers and the priestess. With that said, the satellite trio got into the helipad before it took off to satellite. Shortly after that, another limousine drove up to the front of the mansion to bring the twins and Aki home. We gave each other hugs before they left Goodwin's property. Mina was picked up by another taxi to return home and get some deserved rest. I let out a soft sigh as I suddenly felt a bit lonely. This journey had already given me so much and filled a few gaps that had been empty for so many years. I had found friends, and not just any friends, designers from my favorite anime, and they had all accepted me for who I was and my autism. I turned to Goodwin as soon as we were alone. What is it you need to arrange for me, Goodwin? Goodwin gave me a genuine smile. Because you aren't nationally registered in this world, you have very limited freedom. You can't get a job or have your own home, so I have a proposal. Which is? I wish to adopt you.